An officer came to me and said, Jim, would you do the Kairos? I said, absolutely not. I don't need the Lord in my life. I have no use for Christian programs. I want none of that. Absolutely none of that. He said, I'm asking you to do this for me. I said, look here, I respect you, so I'm going to do this program. I'm going to go, just for respect for you.
So it wasn't the cookies?
It wasn't the cookies, it wasn't nothing. I wanted no part of this. I could have made the first one that was ever in the prison system in 1975. I was there when Kairos first came in.
Oh, really?
I had no desire. I wanted no Lord in my life. I had no use for him. I was full of hate for him because of what happened with my family and prison, my dad and them drowning, and I had no part of the Lord in my life. Even when I went to prison in '74, I didn't need him. I didn't take Kairos until '92.
Was he kind of a mentor to you, or I know he was an officer, or was he just a nice guy? Or?
Just a guy that I respected. I just respected him.
Mm-hmm.
I had respect for him. And he asked me to do it. I went there and I said, I'll do this, I'll do the Kairos, but don't you expect nothing to happen because it's not going to happen.
But it did.
But it did. Yes, well when we did the hatred thing, they gave us the legal pad the first day.
Right.
And we was writing names down. And before I realized it, I had 2 sides of that legal pad full.
Did you tell us at the beginning of the weekend how you felt and why you were there, or did you kind of just mumble through that first section?
No, I didn't say anything. I listened.
You didn't say a thing?
I listened.
Okay.
I listened because I didn't want to be there. See, I didn't think that, I thought there was a gimmick.
Right.
There had to be a reason somebody would just come in. You didn't work there. What was the motivation for you to be there?
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't want that. I had no, like I say, I didn't want that in my life. I didn't want nothing to do with God in my life.
The first kind of the little tug was the when writing down the people that you had resentment for and you just couldn't forgive.
What the tug was is when we went outside and put that list into the fire.
Right.
And I turned to walk away. And it was like the weight of the world had been taken off me. It was gone.
So that moment when you committed, or you gave that hatred and the resentfulness and the unforgiveness to Christ, that was the turning point for you.
That was the turning point for me.
Ah.
That was the game changer.
The game changer.
Yes, it was.
I mean, we sat at the same table.
You were the table leader.
I was the table leader.
In April of '92.
April of '92. Wow.
The first one ever in there. I sat at the table with you. Didn't want to be there.
Well, you know, I noticed that you were a kind of a leader in the prison, right? I mean, you had power.
Right.
Within the inmates, and almost, I always kind of felt you had a little bit of power over the institution because you could fix anything, and they needed you at times, right?
Right. I used that to my benefit.
Right.
Yes.
So during the weekend, things started to chip away, and you kind of let loose of things. And how was that transition from, you know, a guy who didn't want anything to kind of where you are now? I mean, that's a big step.
Well, it said if you had to go back in your life and change one thing, what would you change? I'd change nothing. I would do my whole life over again to get to where I am now, because I'm happier than I ever been in my life. When I accepted the Lord in my life, then everything changed for me. My whole life changed. Not just that time, but just my first parole date, 2025.
Right.
You know, my paper says I sentence you to Florida State Prison for the rest of your natural life. You know, not there.
That was changed.
Changed. Life parole. You'll never get off parole. Well, I am. I am off parole. 2011, they took me off parole. Did 26 years in prison. 26, and I did 11 on parole. I was 42 years old before I ever knew the Lord.
Wow.
42.
Well then, so after you got out, you started working for a contractor?
I worked for a contractor in Sebring for 9 years.
Uh-huh.
And then they sold everything to the city of Sebring.
Mm-hmm.
And the city of Sebring hired me. And now I'm the supervisor of the wastewater collection department.
The guys who came in were just themselves. There was really no motivation. There was no way that they were going to game the system, because they were giving up their weekend. They had attended.
No motive.
No
They had
motive.
no motive. They were there because they wanted to be there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what I had to realize. I wanted what they had, what they brought to the table. It's like when you came there, you know, you selected me out of all the people to do the closing. You picked me. And I said to you, no, not me, Sonny Heath. He works in the chapel. He'll know what to say.
Yeah.
Because he's the chaplain aide. You said, no, we picked you. And I did it.
Mm.
I went and did it at the closing, and that was the start of the different me, different life. You came back every month.
Okay.
You came back. You know, it's hard to be on the compound and trust three people. You know, that's the problem there. You know, is you in there. It's you can't let everybody know who you really are,
Mm-hmm.
or you show any sign of weakness, because they're there to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where like when the Kairos came there, you can be more open. You can be real. It's you know, the people here that come in are real.
I think, you know, for me, the neatest part of a weekend is where the guys, they do that Pharaoh thing, where it's like they're little kids all over again. And you see these hard guys just kind of let go for one moment. And for me, that's always the greatest time, when they feel free almost. It's innocent again. I love that part of the weekend. It's a high point for me. After you got out, how long did it take you to, now you're working weekends, how long did it take you to get involved in Kairos going back in?
It took me, you have to be out a year, but you have to be off parole. You can't be on parole and go in. So I
Okay.
had to be 11 years. It took me 11 years. It took me 21 years to make another Kairos. 21 years.
21 years.
21 years, see. But I got that opportunity, you know, to go back. And that's so important. You know, I realize more now that what goes into, being in there, we don't realize what goes on before. You know,
Right.
we just feel like that everybody shows up, but there's more to it. You know, you have to be committed and believe in what you're doing.
Well, you know, to me it's really neat when I see you. Not only do you know, a lot of the inmates know you at Avon Park. They knew you, some of them knew you before you were a Christian, some knew you afterwards. And I think, you know, that's a great testament to you know, to your life and to the whole ministry of the way that weekend can kind of spark a change in us. And I don't think it's just the inmates that it changes. I absolutely think it's the guys who work the weekend too.
It is. It's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood. You know, can you save everybody? No, we can't save everybody. But you know, when we go to churches out here, people are already saved. We have to save the unsaved, and there's no better place than the prison to save the unsaved. That's what I feel. You know, when you came there, you know, everybody was there for a different thing. Every Kairos, they're there for the cookies. We hear at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're here for the cookies, but they all leave there with something different. Both sides.
Oh, for sure.
both
Yeah,
sides.
you know, we in many prisons they have the cookies and the food, and that's such a treat to get something that actually has flavor. You know, and that's you know, that's kind of a bait to get the guys in, and but they don't leave with that. I think they leave with a lot more.
No, they don't want cookies. They don't want any more cookies after that.
That's right. They're cooking
care
out.
less about a cookie. But it's what you get spiritually. You know, it's just like when I told the Lord, you know, I said, it doesn't matter whether I get out or not. Because I had been free when I accepted him. You know, when he came into my life, I was free here and here. First time in my life, 40-some years, I was free.
Well, I think there are a lot of guys on the outside who aren't free at all. I mean, you know, and here you were incarcerated, and you had that sensation of freedom, and the realization that you were free.
And I was free. I was free. I mean, you know, he's just opened so many doors, and it all started in Kairos. The Kairos came in there for the 4 days, and they left. But they didn't leave us. You know what I mean? Some people come there and they
Right,
bring
they
a
do a
message.
slam, bam, thank you, ma'am,
Thank you,
and
man.
boom.
And it's hard. That's why the reunions are so important. You know, the reunions are important because there's a bond. There's a bond, and you'll say, we're here for this reason, and we don't come back.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't come back, then they don't believe that. That's happened with their families. That's happened with everything.
Mm-hmm.
See, the reunions are, and I understand everybody has things to do. You know, you can't make all of them, but you can make some of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's important. It was important to me. It was important to see you again. When I found out I was going to do Kairos, you know, I said, oh man, what a thrill. Curt will be there, and I sit at the table with him, and Sam will be there, and Steve Horn will be there, you know, and that's what a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
What a blessing that is. I really was. I mean, I was so thrilled just to come in here and see you. I said, someday I'm going to do a Kairos. And I wanted to do it in 2000 when I got out.
But you couldn't.
But I couldn't, see?
Right.
And it wasn't time. It was when God wanted me to do it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And when I got a hold of Sam, and then they said, well, you want to join the team? Yeah, I want to join the team. What a blessing. What a blessing that is. I feel like we need more people. We need more.
Oh, we do. And I think that's, I guess that's the whole reason for the interview, is that we do need people from different environments and different churches. I think the power of Kairos is partly the fact that you've got guys from different churches coming in together saying the same thing, you know, that the fundamentals of Christianity, and sharing that with the inmates.
Well, I don't think it's only good for the inmates. I think it's good for the volunteers too. People, society thinks, they'll say, what are they like? What are they like? Are they aliens or something? No, they're doctors, there's lawyers, there's ministers, there's Boy Scout leaders, there's everything in there.
Mm-hmm.
People that made a mistake. Everybody in our lives made a mistake. But if you go to the Lord, you can ask for forgiveness. The difference that you made, and Sam made, and Steve Horn, and all the guys that came in there, Booger, and
Mm-hmm.
Sal Porter, and I just remember all the names, you know. What a blessing, what difference, with no motive in, but to bring the word, to share.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Just to be there with you guys, because I mean, some guys don't even talk hardly. I mean, some of the outside guys, some guys can't even hear, you know, but they're there.
Yeah, yes, yes. But I mean, but it's real.
Yeah.
See, that's why I say the volunteers get as much or more than inmates do.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the computer to check the charges. Not a good thing for me to do. That's not why I was going in there.
Yeah.
I can't be judged.
Yeah.
You know, I can't judge people. I'm not a judge. And that's what I was doing. to be fair, I had to pray about that. I had to ask the Lord to help me get by this.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could have done Kairos. There's no other way. I mean, I can't, whatever their charges are is not the reason for us to
Yeah.
do that.
That's absolutely, and I think that really, when I looked up the charges of two guys who I had continually met with when I went down to visit after a weekend, I found that clouded my my witness and my ability to be close to them. Because I had this preconceived notion of what they had done or whatever, and I really didn't need that.
Well, that's more like the devil working on you.
I think so.
He works on all of us. He worked on me. It was done. Everything was done for me not to go to Kairos. It was done, but the Lord knew when it was time for me to go. When Jim goes, see, it's all in His timing, not our timing, His timing.
But we want it now.
We're humans. Humans
Yeah.
want it now. I wanted to be off parole. I wanted to when I got it. It took me after I did the Kairos, 92. I wasn't looking to get out of prison. I had no thoughts about getting out of prison because I had a life sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, my paperwork says I sentence you to Florida State Prison for the rest of your natural life. Well, the Lord had other plans. Can I say that everybody's going to get out of prison? No, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Is He going to open the door for everybody? Absolutely not. But you can be free. You can be free wherever you are. That's what I had to learn. I was free here and here for the first time in my life, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter. When I said, I think the Lord has a good sense of humor, because I told Him, don't let me out. Use me here. If that's what you need me to do, keep me here. And I was content with that. I really was content with that. When I started going to the church, people would say, Jim, you going to the church? Yes, I am. You want to go with me, or are you afraid? I'll take you. Because on that compound, they looked up at me.
Mm-hmm.
They looked up to me, and a lot of people went to church because they seen me going to church. Nothing is worth, to me, nothing's worth not being able to go back in that prison. Nothing's worth to me than Kairos going back into that prison. Nothing. I wouldn't jeopardize that for nothing, because I know what I got out of it. 26 years in there, very difficult. But most people out here would never know I was in prison.
No.
I went to it expecting nothing. Left there with a new life.